What's up, wealth builders? What is up? Hey, thank you guys for tuning in today. I got an important question to ask you guys. Does anyone out there have any traditions that have maybe been passed down to your family? Maybe they've been passed down to your organization. Maybe they've been passed down through a loved one, maybe a friend. And the question I have is, the traditions that you have and the traditions that you hold true to, are they traditions that are actually building you up, or are they traditions that are holding you back? Now, bear with me while we get through this message, because it's something that I really has been feeling over the last couple of days. And I want you guys to think about this, right? There are traditions, there are statements that we say on a day-to-day basis that literally keep us from being successful, that literally keep us from challenging ourselves and moving forward and creating the life that God has already planned for us, because we're stuck in traditions that are not traditions that we even came up with for ourselves. So when it comes down to real estate investing, this is equally true, because there are traditions in real estate and real estate investings and that have become traditions through somebody saying something, and let me do this, right? Here's a tradition that I've heard that have stopped some real estate investors. It takes money to make money. That's a tradition that is not 100% true. In order for you to get into real estate, you have to become a realtor. Not true. You should always follow the trends. That is not true. That is a tradition that is false. Debt is bad. That is a tradition that is false. You need capital to start. The market is too risky. There's no houses. It's crazy how many different sayings and traditions we have that literally hold us back from gaining momentum and breaking free of the bondage that we all are fighting, which is every day. We're all fighting some type of bondage, whether that's bondage to your workplace, bondage to money, bondage to an addiction, all of these different things. And it's because we allow these traditions that are passed down through our families, passed down through generations, passed down through organizations to affect us and to have a stronghold in our lives. So let me break down the definition of traditions, right? A tradition is a belief, practice, or custom that is passed down within a group or society from generation to generation. It says that traditions often hold significant cultural or religious importance and are typically followed over long periods. There's a person out there who's going to watch this video who the reason why you believe that debt is bad is because your mom or your dad or your grandmom or your granddad or your cousin or your uncle told you that debt was bad. Don't get into debt, it's going to ruin your life. And that may be true for the situation that person went through, but I think that sometimes what happens is we form a tradition based off of a fear, and that fear becomes a unrealistic fear. Debt is not bad. All debt is not bad. Some debt is very good. The mismanagement of debt is bad. That should be the tradition that we try to strive for. The mismanagement of debt, yes, that is bad. But the utilization of debt is not bad. Debt is meant to help you to get a leg up in a situation where you don't have the resources readily available to you, so you borrow them from someone that you know that has it. That's having access to an asset that you need, and being able to formulate a partnership with someone else so that you can get that task done. And again, when we buy into the traditions that have been passed down, we end up finding ourselves hindered and stifled and stagnant and not able to move forward, because somebody told me that this thing was bad, and if this thing was bad for them, then it has to be bad for me. It was bad for them because they made a poor decision, okay? And it does not mean that it's going to be bad for you. Now, the misconceptions when it comes down to real estate investing, right? So real estate investing is only for the wealthy. I know that many of you guys have heard that you got to have money in order to get into real estate investing. That's not true. You don't have to have money. You don't have to come from a family of real estate investors. You don't have to come from a family that has a large portfolio of investments, whether that be real estate investments or otherwise, to get started in real estate investing. The world has shown us this time and time again. That is the reason why we have these zero to hero stories, right? There's plenty of times where you hear about the person that was dirt poor, came from a poverty-stricken area, and they rose against the adversity and were able to be triumphant in whatever it is that they found themselves doing, right? We see that with many of people throughout history, and for some reason we downplay that, and we'll upplay the fact that, oh well, this rich person is rich, so you have to already be rich to be rich. No, that is the principle of not laying up treasures for yourself that you see at work, right? That's not a tradition. It is a tradition. Let me take that back. It is a tradition. It is a healthy tradition that we all should be striving for, right? The Bible tells us in Proverbs 6, is that Proverbs 6? 1 minute. No, in Matthew 6, verse 19 through 20, Jesus tells us that we are not to lay up treasures for ourselves, but we are told that we're supposed to lay up treasures for our children's children. So when we get this misconception that you have to already have wealth to get into an investment strategy, no, you don't have to. But when we look at people who came from wealth and it was easier for them, that's someone in the past who decided to start a tradition that was healthy for their family, and that tradition continues to carry on into the generations, far past them, far past any ideal that they truly had. And those are healthy traditions. But see, for some of us, the tradition got started that, oh, you need to save your money and don't spend it, because if you spend your money, then you're putting yourself at risk. That is a bad tradition that gets handed down. It gets handed down from generation to generation. It's too risky to get into these type of investments. That is a bad tradition that gets handed down from generation to generation. Listen to me, parents. If you have a tradition in your family that, when you look at that tradition and you look at how it manifests itself in the rest of your family members, and it did not positively affect anyone in your bloodline, do not pass that tradition down to your kids. Okay? Do not pass down traditions to your kids and to your loved ones and to the future generations that have no fruit in the past. This has been a tradition in your family for 10, 20, 100 years, but nobody in your family has benefited or has progressed from partaking or from believing in this tradition. And it's probably not a tradition that is of God, because God gives blessings, and anything outside of that is a curse. And your curse does not have to be a tradition. We're supposed to be every generation has the potential to break curses. We have the potential to break generational curses, which sometimes mask themselves as generational traditions. So let me tell you, let me go to the next part of what I had written down, right? And that was, sorry, just bear with me, right? So I told you guys that was oh yeah, that was what, Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, do not lean upon your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path. Listen, the key thing in that, there's just two key things in there. One, trust in the Lord with all your heart. If you trust in the Lord with all your heart, the Lord will the Lord will bring forth fruit into your life, right? Those are seeds that are being planted into your family that will be perennials that will come back every single year. These fruit will come back every single generation once you start planting these positive traditions into your family. And it says, do not lean upon your own understanding. Sometimes our tradition starts because of our own understanding or our own misunderstanding of a situation, right? When someone tells you that it is bad to use wealth to use debt to build wealth, that is a misunderstanding that they had about how debt works. And because of that, they planted that seed, and then it grew into a massive bush or a massive tree in your family. And now somebody has to go through the hard work of uprooting that tree, chopping it down, digging the roots out, so that it does not bear fruit continuously throughout your lifeline. You do understand that, you know, just like trees drop fruit, the fruit drop to the ground, and then new trees pop up. And then the crazy thing is that eventually the new trees get taller than the tree that was there originally, because it continues to happen over and over again. Eventually the new traditions that are based off of your old bad traditions get worse and worse. Somebody first said, don't get credit cards because credit cards will put you in bankruptcy, right? And then the next generation says, oh, don't use any debt because all debt is bad. Then the next generation says, don't get into an investment unless you have all of the money to pay for it up front. Those are bad traditions, and they continue to get worse and worse over years because no one stopped and took a look at that tradition and said, okay, how is this tradition helping or hurting our family? How is this tradition helping or hurting my business? How is this tradition helping or hurting me? If you guys look through the Bible, you know, I love going back through the Old Testament. Abraham had to escape from the traditions of his family in order for him to become the father of Israel, the father of many nations. But it's possible that had he stayed where he was, he would have continued to live in the traditions of his father, who was a pagan idol maker. He made idols for people. He literally was the epitome of anti-God in some cases. I don't know if he didn't believe in God, but he does not believe that God was the one true God, because he made idols for other people. He was contributing to other people's sinful ways, right? And it took God having Abraham leave from his father's house to break those traditions and to start setting up new traditions in his household. And if you look through the story of Abraham, you will see that throughout the entire time, as he starts having kids, he's still trying to break these traditions that was set up in his family. And that's what we have to do for our families, is we have to become the Abraham of our family. We have to become the person that is okay with stepping out of the comfort zone that was built by our ancestors and by our previous loved ones and by our businesses, and learn that not everything has to be done the way that it has always been done. One of my biggest pet peeves whenever I would join a new organization, especially when I was in the Marine Corps, and then you go to a new unit and you see them doing something wrong, right? And you're like, why do you guys do this way? Because that's not what the publication says that it's supposed to be done like that. And people say, this is how we always did it. As soon as somebody tells you this is how we've always done it, you can guarantee that you're in for a battle. Because as soon as somebody says that, that means that they are holding on to this tradition. They don't care if this tradition has the potential to kill somebody. They don't care if this tradition has the potential to weaken your readiness to go to war. They will hold on to that tradition because this is how we've always done it. And to be honest with you, I'm too lazy to learn a new way. And that is what happens to a lot of us in our business life, in our personal life. You do not have to go into your marriage doing it the way that it has always been done in your family. You don't have to go into your business life doing it in this way because that's the way it's always been done in this industry. That is a false narrative that has been pushed on us. But then we know that it is a lie, because when we look at those people that are successful, people who have gotten successful because they did something that broke the boundaries, we love talking about that. Somebody who broke the ceiling, they bust through the ceiling, and they innovated the way that things are being done. That is because they broke away from the tradition that someone else said this is how we have to do it. If the tradition, here's the thing, right? In real estate investing, if the tradition had a monetary value, and traditionally we do it this way, and traditionally you make $100,000 a year. Well, if you're a person who wants to make $200,000 a year, the only way you can get to $200,000 a year is by breaking the tradition. Because the tradition, if you do it the way that it's traditionally been done, you can only make $100,000 because that's what the tradition comes with. But when you learn how to innovate and how to carve out the things that are negative and bad, and how to do more of the things that are good, you can then increase your financial status. You can increase your status within an organization, within your business. You can increase the amount of people that find you and want to utilize your services, because you are a person who was willing to break away from the tradition. Realtors, let me talk to the realtors for a very brief second. Get away from the tradition. Okay, I understand that your brokerage said this is how we've always done it. We've always just put them on the MLS and let them sell themselves. Get away from that lie. If you're a realtor, you need to be doing things that are outside of the box so that you can become the realtor that is the top performing realtor. When you look at top performing realtors, they don't behave like regular realtors. They don't just go do the little realtor headshot and put it on the website and expect the website to sell properties for them. No, they learn how to be better marketers. They learn how to be better communicators. They learn how to be innovators when it comes down to helping a seller get their property ready to sell. Those are the things that we have to do as investors, as real estate investors, as stock investors, as crypto investors, as business investors, as executives in businesses. If you are an executive or if you run a business and you are only running your business in the way that it has traditionally been done, you are likely failing yourself because you're limiting yourself to what the tradition has to offer. And that's the reason why we go to places and you see you got a burger joint that also sells, Italian food. And sometimes it can be bad. It's not necessarily saying that that's going to boost your income. But if you don't try to do something that's outside of the box, then you just become a regular burger joint just like everybody else. I got 15 different places I can go get a burger from. I'm going to the place that's doing burgers different than the way that everybody else does burgers. Okay? I don't want to come to your high-end restaurant and get a McDonald's type burger because that's tradition. I can go get a McDonald's burger on any street corner in a major city. I probably got 20 different McDonald's I can go to. If I come to your establishment looking to get fed, I want to be fed something that breaks the tradition. I want to be fed something that is different. I don't want to come to your high-end Italian restaurant and get Red Lobster. It's just not what I'm looking for. So, again, as investors, don't be the investor that's just doing what everybody else done because it's tradition. Don't be afraid to push the envelope. Don't be afraid to break free and to do something that is a little bit different, right? So let's talk about where do some of these traditions come from real quick. One of the first things that I thought about was a misinterpretation of financial success. Sometimes we'll look at somebody else's success and we'll say, oh, well, they did this, so let me do that too. And here's the thing. What they did to get their success may work for you, but it may not work for you. And there's one big reason why that's true, because you're not them. We're not all the same people. We are not cookie cutter. We are all made in God's image, but guess what? God is so multifaceted that he gave each and every one of us a piece of his creativity, a spark of his intuition, his ingenuity, and he expects us all to act upon it. And what you do to set yourself apart from the herd is different than what I do to set myself apart from the herd. We're not dogs, we're not cats, we're not cows in a pasture that one cow moves to the next watering hole, the whole flock moves to the watering hole. Guess what? If you follow the herd, you get eaten. There are strengths, there is strength in numbers. I'm not taking away from that, but don't be a part of the herd, because then you just become predictable, and nobody likes predictability. Well, some people like predictability. Some people don't like surprises. But in business, nobody likes predictability. Not necessarily. We want growth. And if here's a key way of looking at that, right? If I at the beginning of the year can predict what your outcome is going to be at the end of the year, and it is legitimately to the T because you followed the tradition, I don't like that. I want it to be unpredictable. I want it to be that I thought you were going to make a 10% increase in revenue, but you made a 15-20% increase in revenue. That is the type of ingenuity that we have to practice. And we can't do that if we follow the traditional way that things have always been done. And, the way that things have always been done it's boring. It's boring, for one. Two, it does not express your creativity. It does not express the brain that God gave you to use to cleverly figure out how to get past an obstacle. You just go in every day and you do the same thing over and over again because this is how we've always done it. This is what we always do. So another place that failed traditions stem from is cultural and family beliefs passed down over without questioning. And the important thing is the without questioning part. It's okay to have cultural beliefs that get passed down. It's okay to have family beliefs that get passed down. It is okay to have business beliefs that get passed down, traditions that are just traditions. But if you are accepting traditions without questioning them, then you may be setting yourself up for a failure, right? And here's the reason. The reason is because you don't have an understanding of why you're doing what you're doing. You know, I know some of you guys may have heard the story where they talk about mom cooking the ham, and she cuts the end off of the ham and puts it in the pan. So then you fast forward down, and the daughter is cutting the ends off the ham and putting and discarding the ends, and then you get the daughter of the daughter is cutting the ends off, and then eventually it gets down to, you know, 3-4 generations down the road, and that kid says, the kid that is the out of the box thinker, the one that you think they're always in la la land because they ask all these questions. You know, we love for our kids to ask questions, but we don't love for them to ask questions. I just want you to do it the way that I told you to do it, because this is the way we've always done it. And then come to find out that the only reason why mom originally, grandmom or great grandma was cutting the end off of it is because she didn't have a big enough pan to put the ham in. So for generations, we've been wasting food, cutting the ends off, because we thought that it was a tradition that we were supposed to stick to, but realistically, it was a tradition that came out of a need for that time frame. There are traditions in your family, traditions in your business that were just traditions because it was needed for the time frame. Don't go into 2025 still doing stuff that from your great grandparents that was because they were in a wartime environment. Okay, World War I, World War II, they went through the Great Depression, and they were holding on to everything. Every penny had to count, and you've taken those traditions and you're using those traditions now, and they are not the same. They do not bear the same fruit because you are not in the same situation that they were in. Don't take the traditions of your parents. Your mom and your dad, maybe they came from, you know, like, let me, and I'm gonna be personal on this one, right? My mom is she's the second youngest in a family of 11. Okay, family of 11. My grandma had 11 kids. There are traditions that my mom had that were literally just traditions because of her upbringing. But as we got older, my mom has 4 kids. Some of the traditions that were my mom's traditions are not the same for us. I don't have 11 kids. So there are things that I can do that are different than the traditions that were established in my family, right? And some of you guys may be able to relate to that, because you may come from families that either you grew up in a large family, and you know, everybody got one piece of chicken because it wasn't enough to go around. Well, guess what? In my family, you can get more than one piece of chicken because we don't have 11 people to feed. We don't have 12 people to feed. So there are traditions, you know, that you didn't get the fried chicken and everybody got a piece. You had to cut the chicken up, and you thought that, oh, that made the chicken taste better, so we do that. Because no, you cut the chicken up because you had to feed more people. So you cut it up into pieces because, like in our family, we realized that the kids only worry about the numbers. We cut the chicken up in our family, but it's because they worry about the numbers. They want to get 10 pieces of chicken. Guess what? You can get 10 pieces of chicken and still came out to 5. But those are traditions that are passed down through families that sometimes they're not needed. The tradition of going to college, and some of us tradition, it was tradition. The tradition was you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, you work for 20 to 30, 40 years, you retire, because that doesn't even exist anymore. There's no retirement anymore. Most people work until they die nowadays, and the ones who do retire, they retired. They tired. Don't be retired. Okay, there's no enjoyment in being tired just because you don't have to go to work, because you work yourself to death. But for some of you, the tradition was going to college. It was going to college, getting a degree, and now you're forcing that tradition down on your kids. But your kid is not a person who needs to go to college, because the thing that they want to do in life doesn't even require a college degree. Don't send your kids, don't force those traditions down generation to generation. Now, you could be smart about it. You can educate them on the importance of education, but it does not mean that your kid needs to spend 4 years, 8 years in an academic environment to learn how to do something that does not require them to have a degree. Okay, and so misinformation from unreliable sources is the next thing that I want to talk about. If your tradition stems from someone who has never done the thing that you're trying to do, it is a bad tradition. Stop getting advice from your family member or from your friend or from your coworker who has never ever owned a investment property. They've never ever done a flip, but they're telling you all of these things and creating all of this doubt in your mind based off of unreliable information that they have. Okay, it is a bad tradition, and what happens is it plants a seed in your mind, and then you plant the seed in the next person's mind, and before you know it, this has become a tradition in your family that is unhealthy. Okay, unreliable sources can be a number of different things, but if you are looking to start doing something, if you're looking to I can't tell you how to become a doctor. I've never been a doctor. I've never gone to school for anything that was related to being a doctor. So I would be an unreliable source for you to come to and talk to about being a doctor. Now I can give you some advice about focus. I can give you some advice about perseverance. I can give you some advice about that can help you with becoming a doctor. Right? I can give you some advice on how to focus on doing your schoolwork so that you can get better grades and stuff like that. But I can't tell you how to become a doctor. I cannot give you any advice on what it's going to be like for you to be a doctor. I can give you some advice, I can give you some information that I got from someone else. But to be honest with you, it's still unreliable information. So when your loved one comes and tells you, oh, you sure you want to get into real estate investing because I heard that most real estate investors lose money before they make money. That's a lie. Don't believe that unreliable information. That came from an unreliable source. Matter of fact, it goes back to the passing down of information without questioning it. As soon as somebody says something like that to you, ask them, who did it come from? Who did it come from? Who was the person who told you that all real estate investors lose money? Who was the person who told you that the real estate bubble is gonna bust and you should wait? Who was the person who told you that you need to wait for the interest rate to go down? Here's the thing, right? When things look like they're going bad for everybody else, they're going great for the investor. When nobody else is buying houses, that's the best time to buy houses. It's the best time to buy houses because nobody else is buying them. Guess what? There's a lot of inventory out there and the prices are getting cut. So it's the best time to buy properties. But we listen to the misinformation of someone who has never done it, and they start telling us all of these tall tales that they've gotten from wherever they got them from, and they start to diminish what we have an understanding of and what we can do. Don't allow traditions to be your downfall. Societal pressures, that's another one. When you want to conform to what everybody's saying, nobody wants to be the person who's doing something different from the rest of the crowd, and maybe somebody ends up laughing at me because I did get into that property and maybe I did lose some money, but instead of me reframing that loss as a win, because even if I lose money in the deal, guess what? Now I know what not to do. Even if I lose money on a flip, now I know what not to do. So the next one will be better, and the next one after that would be better. Now, if you're a person who don't learn from your mistakes, that's a whole nother thing. That's different. That's far beyond the tradition and far beyond the ideal of what's good and what's bad when it comes down to investing. You just don't listen. That's completely different from the person who made a mistake and learned from the mistake and then got better as a result of the mistake that they made. So, and then the last thing that I'm gonna go over is fear of failure. Fear of failure is the number one creative of traditions and families. The fear that your loved down to you. You have an incoming. Sorry about that. Some negative outcome that they passed down to you that became your fear, and not only did it become your fear, once a fear gets passed down to someone else, like if I have a fear and I pass that fear down to my kid, I may have had a legitimate fear of something because I experienced a life or death situation, and because of that, it created a fear in me or a concern in me that then I live with that going forward. But if I can literally pass down a fear to my child, and my child not understand where that fear came from, and then they have an irrational fear of something that they never actually had an experience of. Now, it does not mean that you don't share wisdom and you don't share insight on things and how something can harm you. But to solely create a tradition based off of fear that then keeps another person from even experiencing life, that is completely different. You know, I go out and break my leg playing football, and now I have a fear. I feel that well, you're gonna get hurt if you play football, and I tell my kid you're gonna get hurt if you play football. Well, now my kid could have been the person in the family that went to the NFL, that changed the dynamic for the entire family. But I've imposed a superficial fear on them that created a sense of doubt and a sense of failure to move. And because of that fear that I placed in them, they now missed out on a blessing that was meant for their family and for their generations to come. And we have to be the stoppers of that. We have to diligently capture those thoughts and then measure them against the Bible. Measure them against the word that God has already given us. You can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. All things. Not some things, not a few things, not a little things, not these things, but not those things. All things, right? Jesus said faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. I don't know about you. When was the last time you were able to move a mountain? But Jesus said faith the size of the mustard seed has the potential to move mountains. That means that you can do the impossible. We see people do the impossible all the time, right? The first person who did open heart surgery did what somebody else said was impossible. Everybody looked at that person and said, ain't no way in the world they gonna do open heart surgery. The tradition at this hospital is to give them a whole bunch of medicine and blase, blase, blah. That was the tradition of the tradition is to medicate them and send them home and tell them to get their last will and testament together. But somebody decided to break that tradition and to go out and create a new tradition. And then you become the hospital that now you're the premier hospital for open heart surgery in the entire country or the entire world, because one person was able to break the tradition of the organization. You know, and that could be for your family, right? The tradition is we only sell to other businesses. Well, guess what? Then businesses start selling to the general public. They called it will call. They called it and they started increasing their revenue because now they tapped into a whole nother market. They were able to get that upcharge rather than having to go to a distributor. So in your business, this is the same, okay? It is the same but not just your business, y'all. In your families, okay? Parents, you don't want to be the reason why your kid is afraid to try something because of a tradition that you failed to question when you were a kid. If you have traditions that you're passing down from generation to generation and you yourself do not understand where that tradition came from, question where the tradition came from. If the person who created the tradition is not there for you to ask that question of, ask the rest of your loved ones that are around you, hey, do you know where this tradition came from? If none of them know, then it may be time for you to seek the guidance of God and form a new tradition for your family. Because obviously that's a tradition that has no foundation. There are a lot of traditions out here that have no foundation. And if you build your life, if you build your business, and if you build your family on poor foundation, it will sink. It will fall. It will get blown over in the wind. It will get washed away in the flood. It will not last the test of time and the tribulations that are to come. Every business is gonna have its time of tribulation. It's gonna have its time of trials. But if you know that you've built something that is built on solid traditions and foundations, you do not have to worry about its success. It will be successful because you've built it in a way to where it's going to withstand. And everybody heard the story of the 3 little pigs. You don't want to build your family in a straw house. You don't want to build your business in a mud house or a brick house. You want the brick house. You want the brick house. You want to build your family, you want to build your business, and you want to build your future on solid, firm foundation. And I'm gonna leave on this verse from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17 through 19. And it says, as for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be hasty, nor to set their hopes on uncertainties of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasures for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. Okay? This, when I first read this, I thought it was contradicting what Jesus said in Matthew when he said, do not lay up riches for yourself. Because in Timothy it says, store up treasures for themselves as a good foundation for the future. But the key of that is this: you store up treasures for a good foundation for the future. That is not for you. That is for your family. That is for your children's children. You are setting up a firm foundation for your children's children, so that they may be able to weather the storm. Okay? Set up good, sound foundations and traditions for your family, for your business, so that it will be able to weather the storm. Okay? Your business should be able to still be around 100 years from now, despite you being long gone, because you set it up with solid, firm foundation and with good traditions, and you were not afraid to have a person come and question the tradition. Because sometimes, even me, right? I have to humble myself with the kids, because they'll come and ask why on something, and I have to, and when they ask why, I have to ask myself why, and then I realize that I don't even have an answer for why. And because I said so works only part-time. Now, there are times when I just need you to do what I said because I said so. It may save lives. But then after that, I need to go back and explain to you why I said so. Why is this so? Because when the next person is faced with that same opposition and they don't understand why you did what you did, then they're just arbitrarily doing things. They're just doing it. It becomes busy work, and it makes no sense. And then you start not doing it the same way because it doesn't make sense to you. You ever find yourself doing a task that didn't even make sense to you? Why are we doing it this way? This way is harder. Why do we have to do it the harder way? We work smarter, not harder, right? Traditions are okay to have in your family. It's okay to have them in your business. But don't be afraid to question them. Don't be afraid to modify them. Don't be afraid to adjust them. And don't be afraid to get rid of them altogether. Sometimes the tradition has to go. All right. So I hope that this message was for at least one person that's watching this. That's all I care about. At least one person that's watching this. I pray that you get something from this message, and it is something that really was on my mind today. I also listened to a podcast by Myron earlier today, where he was talking about something similar. So I really just felt like I wanted to bring this message, and talk about what are the traditions that are going on in your family that are keeping you down. There are traditions that are keeping you from becoming a real estate investor. They're not just traditions, they're lies. There are lies. There are lies that are masquerading. They're in a costume, says, "Hi, my name is tradition." No, there is a lie. Okay, it's the big bad wolf dressed up as a sheep, and is only there to keep you down. It's only there to keep you stagnant. It's only there to keep you unmotivated, and to keep you in the same place doing the same thing, not understanding why you're even here doing what you're doing. Okay, so I pray that you all have much peace and love today. I pray that this plants a seed in somebody's mind, that you are capable of all things. You are capable of all things. Okay? In America, we say you could be anything that you put your mind to. And we say it, but we don't believe it. You could be anything that you put your mind to. But sometimes you gotta question where the traditions and where the thoughts that are in your mind came from. Not every thought that passes your mind is a thought of God. Not all thoughts are your thoughts. Some of them are literally thoughts that were implanted by other people that have taken root and have grown into this massive tree of doubt and insecurities, and you are passing those traditions down from generation to generation. And it has to stop. And it can stop with you. Okay? It can stop with me. It can stop with all of us. We have the potential to be the gardener that goes out and prunes it, cut it off, let it wither, and toss it into the compost pile so that it can be regenerate it into something else and provide nutrients in a different way. But you don't have to live by those false traditions, those old traditions that are keeping you down. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, or you know what, I'd love to hear some traditions. Watching this and you can think of a time that you had to stop a tradition that was passed down through your family or through your workplace, I'd love to hear about it. Tell me, you know, was there ever a time that you had a tradition or a this is how we do it that you had to stop and ask yourself, why though? Why do we do it like that though? I understand this is how we do it, but why do we do it like that? Hey mom, I understand that this is how we've always done it, but why do we do it like that? All right, y'all. Peace out. I got to go take LJ for a ride because it's tradition. He has to go for a ride. He likes to, he puts his shoes on and he says, white car, because he's ready to go for a ride. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But I love each and every one of you guys, even the people who put the weird, messed up comments in the description. Hey, thank you for watching also. Thank you for giving me some engagement. We need it. We love it. So thank you. And for those of you who actually came on here looking to get some nourishment, I pray that I was able to give you that. And I just pray that you guys continue to push forward and don't let anything stop you from reaching the goals and from reaching the destination that God has put in front of you. All right, peace.